But first, the ITV News can reveal that nearly half of all NHS hospitals in England have been forced to close wards and suspend vital services because of floods, power cuts and other structural issues. Our investigation found entire accident and emergency departments, maternity wards and paediatric units have been temporarily shut in the past 3 years due to maintenance problems. In some hospitals, entire wards have had to be closed because they are no longer safe. And data we obtained show the level of disrepair is getting worse. The cost of repairs is also growing. Currently, it's estimated more than £10 billion is needed to fix the ageing buildings. Our investigations correspondent Daniel Hewitt has this exclusive report.
In some NHS hospitals, when it rains, it pours is not just a saying, but a reality. This was shared with us by a doctor on shift at a London hospital, described by bosses as a minor leak. Others sent us these pictures from the Queen Elizabeth in Norfolk, where disrepair is so frequent and familiar, these signs have been placed all around the hospital, telling patients to report leaks and cracked ceilings. At St Mary's Hospital in West London, staff have been driven to breaking point by this crumbling estate. Scaffolding holds up part of a tired building that is plagued by leaks, disrepair and decrepit conditions.
I'm a weather watcher. If it's rain, I'm praying.
Really? That bad?
It's that bad, yeah.
The hospital invited us to spend a day here, speaking to staff, documenting the damage, which is having a detrimental effect on their ability to treat patients.
In the pharmacy, we've had flooding, we've had leaks, we've had our ceiling fall in one of our rooms.
It's a lot to face and deal with, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a juggle.
Yeah.
It's a juggle.
And it's a kind of challenge that you shouldn't really have to be facing. I mean,
we should be dealing with patient care.
This was an infectious diseases ward before it became structurally unsafe and had to be closed. In this, one of London's busiest hospitals, delivering first-class care, parts of it are now unusable. Each empty room a homage to neglect. And this is happening across England. Our Freedom of Information request to NHS trusts found 42% have had wards, departments or services suspended or closed due to structural or repair issues. It's happened 171 times across 27 trusts since 2020. At St George's Hospital in South London, the maternity ward flooded in 2020, so women in labour had to be diverted by ambulance to other hospitals. Last year, a power cut at West Middlesex Hospital temporarily shut A&E and operating theatres. At Papworth Hospital in Cambridge, an electrical issue meant patients had to be diverted after a critical incident was declared. And while those hospitals moved fast to fix those issues, in parts of St Mary's, the battle has been lost.
The beams you can see up here were propping up the floor of the ward where patients were treated. Not only is this closed, obviously, it's been completely condemned. This is beyond any economical repair, a complete waste of much needed clinical space.
St Mary's was once world leading. It is here where Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin almost 100 years ago.
Here is Sir Alexander in the original laboratory.
But the building in which he changed the world has barely changed in the century that's followed, starved of funding. Once cutting edge,
I think he'd be pretty shocked to see it's that same building.
Now on the brink of collapse.
We deliver really high quality care for our patients and our local community here, but it's falling down. When a ward closes, that puts more pressure on our teams who are working in the emergency department, where repairs are going on, where water's coming through ceilings or windows, where we're having to shut beds because a space is no longer safe. It just makes it so hard and really demoralising for staff.
But patients do suffer as a result. In Rochdale, former nurse Gina Jackson was admitted to Fairfield General Hospital after having a stroke. It was July 2021 during a heat wave. She says the showers were broken and inside the hospital the heating was on and stayed on for several days. Dehydrated, Gina had to be placed on a drip.
The consultant came in and said, make sure these people are hydrated. No air conditioning, no fans. Literally a window open, 6 inches I'd say. And then there was another woman who ended up on a drip. It made me feel like a prisoner. I won't wish you were my worst enemy.
Fairfield General Hospital told us they're now investigating the conditions in which Gina received her care. So is anything being done about this? The Health Secretary told us yes, standing by a pledge to build 40 new hospitals by 2030, despite delays to the programme.
We've committed the biggest ever investment into the NHS estate. We've also invested in our maintenance programme. But again, it's not just
But you
about
haven't delivered on those
in.
40 new hospitals, have you?
We are committed to 40 new hospitals.
But they were supposed to be done by 2030. Now most of them are starting in 2030 and will take potentially decades to build. So we're looking at 10, 15 years down the track.
No, we're doing it differently. So we're committed to 40 hospitals by 2030.
But St Mary's Hospital won't be one of them. Initially on that list of 40, the rebuild has been delayed, a promise that feels as empty as the wards they can no longer use.
Goodness me, Daniel, there were some extraordinary pictures in that report. So what is the government planning to do about it?
As you saw there, their central promise since 2019, we've had 3 prime ministers since then, has been this 40 new hospitals by 2030. In itself, that's a contentious claim, but we won't get into that tonight. But only in May, they were updating that list. So some hospitals came off, including St Mary's. Some hospitals went on, those with this flimsy concrete called RAC, which we've also reported on this programme. The fact that 4 years on, the government is still updating that list and not actually getting on with building them says quite a lot. I think a lot of people may watch that tonight and think, well, if St Mary's aren't on the list, given the state of that hospital, I can tell you, I had such sympathy for the staff going there, seeing what they had to do, the measure they had to take. How bad are the hospitals that are on the list? Steve Barclay says in that interview with our health correspondent Martin Stew that the government's increased the amount of its money it's spending on maintenance. That's true, it's increased it by 57%, but only to £1.4 billion. You mentioned in the lead-in, it's £10 billion to fix the problem across the NHS. So just 14% of the money is being given, and 1.8 billion of that is for high-risk repairs where people's lives could be in danger. So the money being given and the cost of the problem is a real big gap.
Yeah, OK. Daniel, thanks very much.